Hello, I'm Jim Miller. I'm here with Terrence Moore. The FlipSide starts right now. Welcome to the show. Tonight we're pleased to have Karen Giffin. Karen is Associate Vice President for Mission Advancement for Hospice of Washington County. Karen, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
There is a lot to talk about with your organization, the amazing things that you do, new office space or relatively new office space, right?
Absolutely.
So let's start with the history. Tell us a little bit about
Sure.
hospice and the history.
Well, Hospice of Washington County has been here for over 40 years, and it started as a volunteer organization. The founders wanted to create end-of-life care for Washington County residents, and they began it all volunteer. They had about 5 patients, and they had a few volunteers, and now, Jim, it is over 150 employees that we have.
Wow.
We have approximately 100 volunteers that help us, and we also serve over about 200 patients on our average daily census a day.
200 a day?
200 average daily census, yes. It goes up and down, but on average.
All right. Terrence?
I've had the pleasure to be a part of hospice and joining the board over about a year ago. And one of the first things we did is we had the executive director on to kind of speak to hospice as well. And I just wanted to take the time of what we said when speaking with him to you as well is thank you for all you do in the community, first of all. But we also know that you're probably coming out of the most trying time of the year through the holiday season. So how did the holidays fare at hospice this year?
Sure. Well, first of all, our staff is always there. And I have to say our employees that are with our patients every day, they are the ones that are heroes. Our nurses, our CNAs, our chaplains, our social workers, their feet on the ground. And through the holidays, it's no different than any other time. They're there for our patients. When they need us, we're there. And also in our bereavement area, sometimes it's a very hard time for individuals during the holidays. So we have different programs for them as well so that they can come in, they could talk to our counselors, we have workshops, and we also have remembrance services as well. So we try to be there for the community. And Terrence, all of our bereavement services are free of charge. We do not charge for anything, whether they were a hospice family or their loved one died maybe due to some emergent need or due to overdose or suicide or even infant loss. We're there for everyone.
I would add to that, there's nothing free. It's at no cost.
That's right.
Because there is a lot of fundraising and a lot of work that goes into development to make sure that you can offer that to no cost to the community as well. So I just want to make sure that the community knows that you constantly need support and help, not even for just volunteerism, but also with donations as well to keep these great opportunities, those great programs at no cost to the community.
That is exactly right. And in our bereavement area, 2 years ago during COVID, we found that we were really getting an increasing number of calls for bereavement. And because of that, we needed another counselor. And the community came and they helped and they raised, and now we have a 3rd counselor on staff to really help. So I think it's amazing. And plus, we have volunteers helping them make calls. In fact, the volunteers in a year probably make about 1,700 calls to individuals as well. So it's just amazing. And our volunteers aren't there just because that we want a volunteer program. It's because we are required to have 5% of our patient hours come from volunteers due to CMS requirements. And the community is there for us. We have over 100 volunteers. They come, they have to be trained. They have to also go through an extensive workshop and studying, but they're there and they're there for our patients.
So you mentioned CMS. Mm-hmm. What is CMS about and what do they do for you? Or
Sure, they're our regulatory organization, and it's the Center for Medical Services. So they tell us our requirements that need to happen.
Now, do they also work with hospitals, or is it just hospice that they're?
They work with healthcare organizations.
Okay, so it's general. So they're not just dedicated to
Right.
hospice. Okay, excellent.
Is hospice usually a standalone, or is it sometimes integrated into hospitals?
It is. In Washington County, we are the only licensed hospice here, and we are our own organization. But in other places, sometimes they work with the hospital. Either they are in partnership or maybe they are owned by them. So there's all different ways. We're also a nonprofit hospice, and there are also profit hospices as well. And we are so lucky in Washington County because we've had our nonprofit for over 40 years, and we are the only licensed provider. And we do have a partnership with a lot of the places, not an ownership, but a partnership. So our hospitals, our nursing homes, a number of the places really work with us, and we go into anywhere where a person calls home, and we make sure that that happens. We also have Dewey's House, which is our only inpatient unit in Washington County. We're very lucky to have that. That's been here since 2017.
And just piggybacking on what Jim said, the history of Dewey House, you kind of shared a little anecdote
Sure.
before we got on camera. Can you share that?
Sure. Dewey's House, we opened in 2017. And really the person that championed the campaign was Neil Glessner. His mother was Doris Glessner. Her nickname was Dewey. So it's Dewey's House. And with his story that began, I said it's his one story, and it became 2,300 people's stories because that's how many people donated to Dewey's House. Everyone had their own hospice story. They came in, they wanted to make sure this happened. And when we opened the doors, we raised over the $5 million. There is no mortgage on Dewey's House.
Wow.
How long has Dewey's House been open?
Since 2017.
And it's completely paid for. I mean,
Yes.
the capital costs.
The buildings.
Right, the
yes,
capital costs,
Yes,
yeah.
and now we've started an endowment so that it can continue on for future as well.
What can you tell us about Dewey's House in terms of the
Sure.
number of beds and the staff and so forth?
Dewey's House is a 12-bed inpatient unit, and 3 different types of patient can be there. The first is GIP, so general inpatient, and that is they may have pain and symptoms that they can't control at home or where they're at. So we bring them into Dewey's House. It's really our goal to get them to go home. Also, a second is respite care. So a number of our patients, caregivers, they sometimes need a respite stay. So maybe they have an operation or they might have a trip or something going on. So they're able to do like a 5-day respite stay that's been approved at Dewey's House. And then the third is very, very small. We do residential patients that may be there a week or so. So it's not a long stay facility,
Okay.
but it's there really to get our patients' pain and symptoms managed. And again, our goal is to get everyone home.
So for the medical services you provide, and it sounds like you provide them either at Dewey's House or perhaps in the home?
In the home, 96% of our patients are in home, wherever they call home, Jim.
So what does that look like?
For numbers, so average daily census can be about, like I said, about 200. 96% of our patients are at home. At Dewey's House with the 12-bed inpatient unit, it fluctuates. We may have 9 patients, we may have 6 patients. It just depends on the day. People are coming in. Sometimes they're headed home. Sometimes they do pass away at Dewey's House. So it's really a fluctuation. But we have a great staff there. We have nurses there. We have CNAs there. We have physicians there. We have chaplains there, social workers. And this team also, they all work with our patients in the home as well. So every hospice patient gets a team of people to work with them.
And what is the frequency, and it may vary based on a number of things, but what is the frequency of visits to someone that's in the home?
Again, it just depends on their needs. And I guess I really couldn't say until what their diagnosis is. Do they want a chaplain? Do they want a social worker to come? It's also up to them what their wishes are as well. So we go into the home, we want to make sure that they're comfortable, that their pain is managed. Some people want chaplains to come in. And our spiritual care is not just about religion. It may just be about companionship or talking to someone. Social work is there really to help the family to plan. Some people want that, some people don't. We have volunteers that come in that can be companions, maybe help with pets, just do a number of things. Again, we sit down with the patients. We make a plan of their wishes, not our wishes, their wishes. But we want to make sure that they're comfortable and that we move forward. And there's so many benefits to that, Jim.
Wow. You know, one of the questions I was going to ask is, why is this type of care so important? I think you've outlined at least some of that. Is there anything else you'd like to?
I think the other thing is we care for the patient, but we also care for the whole family. And the family, not only as we're with the patient, but we have pre-bereavement care, but then also we follow those family members about 13 months after the patient passes. And we have wonderful bereavement counselors that really work with them, whether it's sending them information, individual counseling, and really work through their needs. And you have to remember, you may have one patient, but they may have several family members. It might be children, it may be spouses or wives. So we have so many different types of bereavement services for the community. And we have specialized programs for children. We have Cherished Memories, which is like a crafting program with our students. We also have Dovetails. And Dovetails is a bereavement camp for kids that are 6 to 13 years old. And we have done that at the outdoor school last year. And then this year we'll do that again. And it's a whole day of activities, and you partner them with a buddy. And through the day, they work with them to remember memories, talk about their feelings. And then they do a reunion about 6 months after as well. But it's a wonderful program. And that is underwritten by our Jennifer Fund, which was a fund that Ira Laurie and his wife created in honor of his daughter, Jennifer. And that helps pediatric patients at hospice, including a Dovetail camp, but also we have pediatric patients in hospice. They have specialized needs sometimes. Sometimes it's medication. Sometimes their families need to drive somewhere, so they may need gas money, stay. They may need daycare for other kids in the family. So that's just a wonderful program that we have with that. Bereavement also works with adults. So we have support groups like Hearts of Hope. We also have a social brunch. We have different types of workshops. We have found recently that we have had an increased number of calls of bereaved parents in the area. So we are starting a workshop coming up this year to really address that as well. And we have a number of, we work with kids in the schools as well. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Board of Education. We do remembrance services for our patients' families so that they can remember them on a kind of a dedicated basis. And we also have educational resources that we go around with as well. So really, we want to be the point people for bereavement and grief counseling in the area. And again, we have 3 wonderful counselors, we have volunteers, and we really try to reach out to the community to take care of them.
And what I was surprised at that I didn't know, and I thought I knew a fair amount about hospice, is just because your loved one has already passed doesn't mean you can't get the bereavement services. Is that true?
That's true. I mean, if your loved one has passed, again, we follow them 13 months. We do individual counseling. We have workshops for the community. It's just amazing. And again, as Terrence said, it's not free. It's because of the community that we're able to do this. They are very generous, and hospice, it's just amazing. We will sit down with somebody who will come in with a donation, and they really want to give back in the memory of their loved one because of the services usually that we have given them. And again, can't take credit for that. We have wonderful nurses. We have CNAs. We have just great physicians, social workers, bereavement counselors, really that they care. And I've been out at the grocery store, and someone will stop me and say, you work for hospice, right? They'll remember the nurse who worked with their family maybe 5-6 years ago. It is just amazing, the work that they do. I
have no doubt about that. My father passed in 1991, and I could still tell you the nurse that worked with him his last days. I mean, that's not something you forget.
It isn't. And
especially if they're caring. Absolutely,
and it's such an honor to work with these individuals. Again, we may be here talking about it, but they're there with the patients, taking care of them, and I think that is the real heart of hospice.
Excellent. Terrence?
You said it, compassionate, right? Doing it with compassion, and that whole family, that whole life from beginning to end to the new beginning after someone passes away, that hospice can be there. And I know that when I joined, I was already grateful for what hospice has done in my family in New York, different hospice care, of course. But I still had the understanding that hospice happened in the days or weeks before someone passed, and just coming in, making them comfortable enough to, to move past life, and for the family to, maybe have some time to put aside some of the stress and emotions, or deal with some of those emotions when they know that they had a loved one passing. And in my time working with hospice and serving on the board, even right now, I'm just learning so much that goes into what that care looks like. Can you kind of explain what's the earliest someone can engage in hospice, and what kind of triggers someone to get engaged with hospice?
So it's a diagnosis of if you have 6 months for your end of life. And I think really, if you think that you need hospice care, or you think that maybe I should call, I would say this: call hospice, call 301-791-6360. Tell us your story. We can help you, because it does take, you have to work with your physician and our physician, and you have to meet the guidelines. But call early, because I think that a lot of people wait until the end of the days, and there's so many benefits that you can have. Working with your plan with the social worker, having pre-bereavement counseling, working with the chaplains. There's just so many different programs, and I think it's very important for people. Call, and if it's not the requirement there, we might be able to work with you, with palliative care in some different way. But I think really call and see if you do meet the requirements. The earlier, the more benefits that you receive. And we have a number of special funds, Terrence, as well, that people may not know about. And the joy, I think, of really working with our donors is, in our hospice care, our operations pay for themselves. What we're raising is money for our patients, and for our patients in Washington County, because we're Washington County Hospice, and all our patients are there. And so some of the programs, like we have a My Wish program, and this is where our staff will talk to the patients, and they come back and they fill out a form. They said, we found out that this patient wants a wish. It could be a dinner. Sometimes it's a holiday dinner, because they may not feel like they'll make it to the holidays. Sometimes it's a visit. We had one patient in the last couple of years go to Dollywood. So different trips. And as I was telling you the story before, we had one patient that I remember vividly, and he was a tank commander, and he wanted to ride a tank. That was his wish. And so I was at a dinner at the time, and Tom Reifert, as we all know, I turned to him and I said, do you know where we could get a tank? And he said, yes, I do. I know someone in Keedysville. So we went to, Tom gave me the information. The gentleman was very gracious, donated the tank. All the EMS and the ambulance service helped. We all met out there. They actually held our patient up in the tank, and the tank rode down the road and came back, and our patient got to do that one last time.
Wow.
We have had another patient. She was 98 years old. Her birthday was going to be, she was going to be 99. She wanted a sewing machine. So we brought over a sewing machine, and she showed us a picture or a videotape of her parasailing at 97. We've had a 104th birthday recently. I mean, it's just amazing what people want. It's always interesting. Sometimes pieces of jewelry are made for their families, but it's such an honor. And a number of people will say, it's so sad, and wish days are not sad. When we go and we are able to make an end-of-life wish, it is just amazing.
Is there a list that, if I wanted to fulfill a wish for someone, is there a list out there that maybe I know somebody with a tank or a fighter jet, who knows? I'm not Tom Reifert, but is it a list out there?
There's not a list of wishes, because they come in very quickly and then we fulfill them. But you can give to the WISH program. And so it's at Hospice of WC at our website, so you can go to that. But also you could call us at 301-791-6360, and I can give you all the information of the current wishes that are happening. But they come in very fast, Terrence. Again, it may be a trip. It may be just something that one time it was an ice cream cake. That's what they wanted, was an ice cream cake. I also remember somebody having an anniversary and they renewed their vows.
Wow.
So it's just amazing. But we have other programs like the benevolence program. And this is where our staff will go in and they find that our patients, they don't have basic services. Sometimes they don't have sheets on their beds. Sometimes they don't have money for food, money for utilities, money for funeral assistance. So we go in as a stopgap measure and we help until they can get permanent assistance. Sometimes it's track phones that we have to buy. And for the utilities, we go directly to the utilities and we pay for those and make sure that happens. But you have to think these individuals are at the end of life and they don't have their basic needs.
That's not good.
And it's not good, but because of the generosity of this community, we go in and we're able to help them.
We want to hear more about your programs. We want to hear about some statistics, but let's take a break right now. Stay with us. We'll be back with Karen Giffin after this. Welcome back. We're here again with Karen Giffin from Hospice of Washington County. Karen, you were talking about programs. Continue.
Well, another program that we have is our Vet to Vet program. And this is a program, it's a national program called We Honor Veterans. And it's through the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. And it is local veterans that are on the committee. And they come in and they help with companionship with other veterans so that they can talk to the veterans maybe about their time that they served. And so many times at the end of life, we find that our veterans do want to talk to others about that, to their peers. And in this program, we do a number of things. One of the things that are just as amazing to me, it's called the vet pinning. And it's a ceremony that's done. They play their branch song, of course, the national anthem. They pin them, they give them a certificate, and tell them how much that we honor them, tell their story through this ceremony. And of course, we were doing this, and then COVID hit. So how do we go about it during COVID? We actually did Zoom vet pinnings during COVID. It took a little while, but sometimes good things come out of bad. And with this, we were able to bring the family all around the world to see this. So now we're doing hybrid, in person and Zoom, so that people can be there. And I remember one veteran vividly, was at Doey's house. They wanted to do a vet pinning. And the ceremony began at 6 o'clock. And it stopped at 6:20. And the patient passed away at 6:30.
Wow.
And we believe that patient was just waiting for that pinning. And it's just an amazing program. The veterans that are there actually research the branches, maybe the war they're at, the medal they may have received, their company, and they talk about that during the ceremony. They also do other workshops for veterans talking about benefits, and we do a free breakfast every year too that any Washington County veteran can come to, and we give out a little gift, and it's just amazing. Now, to get from 3 stars, we're at a 3-star program right now. We're trying to get to 4 stars. In order to get that, we need more education to our staff, and also we're doing some things in our documents, and then we also had to get the word out a little bit more. So we got a little bit more our vets out promotionally as well this year. We're hoping in April to get to that 4 stars. And it is just an amazing program. And we've been averaging about 17% of our patients are veterans.
Wow.
So just an interesting note on that as well. But a great program. people can give to the Vet to Vet program, helps pays for the pins, the materials for the pinnings. It also helps pay for the breakfast and any other thing that they want to do, but really it's a companionship. And it is amazing, Jim, you can see that veterans want to talk to other veterans, and it's very important to them. And especially in end of life, to honor them for their service.
Absolutely.
So when, so if someone wants to give to one of these programs, obviously they can call Karen.
Right?
What is there a website or?
Yes, hospiceofwc.org.
Okay, .org. And they can actually they can donate and they can specify what program they want to give to right on there?
Yeah,
Okay.
you just go ways to giving, and then there's the funds, and they're listed there, and you can choose whichever one.
And if people want to volunteer?
Go to the website
Okay.
as well, and there is a volunteer button. You can go in, as well as call our office. And our volunteers actually get interviewed, and then they have training, and they work through that as well. And we are looking for veterans to be in the Vet to Vet program on the committee to work with us. So if you are a veteran, or really if you want to do any type of volunteering, because there's so many different ways to volunteer there.
Interesting.
We also have in the different programs, we have the Cass Scholarship. So Dr. Cass, Frederick Cass, was one of our founding fathers, and we began a scholarship program in his name, and we have been able to continue it, and I know he's very proud of it. We give away 4 $2,000 scholarships each year to somebody that's going into healthcare. So you have to be a Washington County resident. Either you're in high school and you've been accepted into college, or you're currently going to college, or HWC employee or immediate member. So we interview the scholarship applicants, and it is amazing the talent and the brilliance of our students in Washington County. Just amazing. Each year we just find the best applicants to give the scholarships to, and each year it amazes me, the students. And we also, Dr. Cass is amazing, so we always
Rick is amazing
just
for sure.
like to have him.
So people can donate to that fund as well?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. We also are beginning a pet program called Pet Peace of Mind. Kicking this off the ground with COVID, we had to go a little dormant with our volunteer face-to-face, so now we're able to bring them back. And this program is helping our patients maybe to walk the pet, maybe to, if they need to get medicine for the pet, maybe to go collect that medicine and bring it to them. Maybe it's just cleaning up after the pet there, just for that time. So many different ways. So we're beginning a Pet Peace of Mind. Then we also have a pet therapy program where a pet, it has to be certified, and there's certain requirements, can come in, and of course they could pet the dogs, or anything like that for the therapy program. And I failed to say this at Doey's house. At Doey's house, if you're a patient there and your cat or dog has had all of its vaccination, you can bring them in to see the patients.
Wow.
And it's just so important. So important.
Absolutely. You can imagine how difficult it is to have that kind of companionship and get to a point where you can't take care of your pet anymore, and then have that companion possibly removed from your home, and hopefully there's someone who's willing to take your pet, and that added stress that's put on someone at that time to be able to have someone help you care for your pet, and even have your pet come visit you in your time of need. If you find yourself in Doey's house, that's just an amazing overlooked part.
I can't imagine that. I have a little hound dog, and I would, she eats better than I do.
And then we also have, I said this a little earlier, the Jennifer Fund, and this is for pediatric patients that are 18 years or younger.
Do you have, did you mention it?
We do have some pediatric patients, and sometimes their requirements are a little different, Jim, so they can be a little longer in hospice care. But sometimes they have different needs. Sometimes they're traveling down the road to different institutions, and they may need travel money, they may need food money. Sometimes it's daycare for the other kids. Sometimes it's a special piece of equipment, or sometimes special medication, maybe the insurance or we can't cover. And so we are able to do that with our Jennifer Fund. And the Jennifer Fund is kind of an interesting fund because you don't have to be a hospice patient. If there may be a need of a pediatric child that's maybe down the road with open heart surgery or just, a number of things, we've been able to help their families as well.
Wow.
And you called out earlier that hospice is a name that's tied to organizations across the country, nonprofit, for-profit, within hospitals, outside, independently. But everything that you're speaking of right now is every dollar goes into right here in Washington County.
It does. We are just Hospice of Washington County. When it comes in, it goes here, and you know that money is going to go to the patients here at Washington County.
And I say that because I know there's assumptions sometimes when you know a name like hospice, that is some kind of larger organization where some of those dollars have to go to and things like that. But those dollars stay right here in Washington County.
That's correct. And our organization is Hospice of Washington County. Dewey's House is our inpatient unit. So sometimes people think that it's separate or it's Dewey's House. We run Dewey's House. So Dewey's House is our house or our building, but that is Hospice of Washington County.
Okay.
So
What other programs?
we also have, of course, I said Dovetails, and that is our bereavement camp for kids 6 to 13. And we've started 2 new funds. One is for education for our staff. And we are looking to create a simulation lab at our new building at 1710 Underpass Way, Suite 300. And this is really to help our staff come in, train as realistic as they can. So we're working on a simulation lab, and we're also working on hospice certification for all of our staff. So we're working to raise some funds for both those programs. And then also our life care program is our palliative care, so that is care before you get to hospice care. We are also creating a fund for that as well to bring that back.
So the palliative care, is that for people that they have a diagnosis, but they're not within the 6-month time frame?
Correct. That's our life care program as
Okay.
well. Yes. And then we also, Jim, have a program. It's our endowment. And endowment is not really a sexy term. So when people call, they say, do you want to give to our endowment? But it's so important because an endowment is you give to that and you take the earnings or 5% if you want each year. And this is what's going to grow for the future. The more and more that we can grow the endowment, we can then, with our investments and our returns, continue this care, continue this free bereavement care, continue the benevolence, the wishes, really continue the best end-of-life care that we can for Washington County residents.
So would the endowment be for someone who may not have a preference, a program, they just want to give money and have it be open
They could,
funding that
They
you
could, or a
use?
lot of people want to give to the endowment because they want to give to the future, not something specifically right now. So our goal is $5 million for the endowment. I know we're at 2.3 million, I believe, right now.
Wow.
So we're moving forward.
Excellent.
And that's what we need to do. And everyone has a hospice story, and if you don't, you will. And when you're building Dewey's House, we have now had over 1,800 people go through Dewey's House. On an average daily census of about 200. You're going to have a hospice story, and by giving to these funds, you're ensuring that your neighbors, your children, maybe even your future grandchildren, are going to be insured to have that end of life care.
Or yourself.
Or yourself, yes, Terrence. That's
We don't want to
that's
talk about
for
that.
sure. That's
Yeah.
definitely correct. Yes.
That's an interesting point, though, and I put hospice and end-of-life care and all of these types of things into the category that I always say sometimes the things we need to talk that we don't want to talk that we want to talk about the least are the things we need to talk about the most. I kind of blew that quote, but there it is. And so, do you find a good mix of people that are giving to these funds? Do you find that the community is different parts of the community are stepping up?
Oh, definitely. Really, all parts of the community. It's interesting. I remember, and I know we'll be talking about some of our events coming up, but I remember one radiothon. We had recently built Doey's house, and one of the people that answered the phone said, "Hey, I just got, $1,000 donation," and they said, and the person that called, I guess their mother was at Doey's house, and I guess the last text they received was how wonderful was the services there, or how comfortable. And it's just amazing because there's so many stories, or about a nurse that one of our patients really appreciated, or a CNA that had come in and did something special. It's just amazing. And I believe our staff really become like family to these families, and they just want to give back. Also, I think it's sometimes you see other people hurt in the community, or needs, like children's needs of grief. People really want to underwrite and help those people, or help those children in dovetails, or they may really just want to make a wish come true. And I have to say, Washington County is amazing in everything they do, and in giving to end-of-life care, they are always there.
Stay with us. We'll be back with Karen Giffin after this. Let's talk about some of the events.
Sure.
What's coming up?
Well, there's so much coming up. First of
All
all, Lou Scally and WJJ will be hosting our radiothon on April 29th. Now, it's held at the Middletown Valley Bank Operations Center.
Okay.
And it's a 4-hour radiothon. We have 4 different teams answering phones. There's prizes. You call in. If you give a donation, you can be put in for prizes. There's team there for prizes. Last year, we were able to raise in 4 hours $40,000. And it goes to Doey's house. It goes to help our Doey's house. And really, Lou Scally has been a champion of hospice for years, and continues that. And JJ's always believed in end-of-life care.
And volunteers are answering the phone as well.
Absolutely. Board members,
Yes.
volunteers, VIPs, like Jim might want to this year because he's a VIP. And
I didn't even know that.
County commissioners were on taking some of the
yes,
photos
definitely,
as
definitely. So it's a fun event, and then also in past years we were able to offer a large prize of a dozen of Crumpy's donuts, one dozen for each month of the year.
Wow.
So stay tuned for what prizes are this year.
Excellent.
So we're excited. And then Washington County Gives is a large event with so many organizations, and it's of course a digital event. You can give over the computer, but also we usually let you stop and see us and do some special things, and that's May 9th. And then we do a shred event, and that's in June. And what that is we work with First Home Mortgage. They underwrite a shred truck. And so people can come in, bring their shredding, and give a donation to us for each of the boxes that they shred. So, and then we have done the Mason-Dixon Regional Car Show, and that's out at Mr. Bowman's farm.
Yep.
And so that's been happening, and that's in honor of Joan Bowman, in memory. And that's August 26th. And we always have a great time there. And he has some wonderful cars in that car museum.
Yes, he does.
It is just amazing.
It's amazing.
And then we have a food truck event, and that's going to be at Warehouse Cinemas. That's September 7th outside. And it's a number of food trucks, and all you have to do is come buy a ticket and eat. That's all you have to do to support
And Terrence
hospice.
will bring you your food?
And Terrence will bring you your food.
Absolutely.
Actually, we introduce our celebrity waiters that night, so they can come and then also do tips, and that kind of starts it out for our huge gala, which is Celebrity Waiter Gala. And this will be, I believe, its 5th year, and it is an amazing event. Last year, we raised $150,000 in one night.
Wow.
This year, it's going to be at Cortland Mansion.
Okay.
It's going to be October 13th, Friday the 13th. And what happens at Celebrity Waiter? The question is, what doesn't happen at Celebrity Waiter? But it is 20 different dinner parties So each celebrity waiter or waiter team chooses a theme, chooses their outfit. They come in, they decorate the table any way they want. They create their own costume, and then they vie for tips. So they can do anything. They can sing. They can. One year we had somebody paid a lot more not to sing. We had people dancing. They do different dances. There's just many things. Terrence, what did you do? He was a celebrity waiter.
We had a Roaring '20s theme at our table, but one of the probably the most creative things I did that night for money was I rode a wooden horse in a race while drinking a martini across the floor against the Bowman team to raise money for the event. So it's a lot of going on there, a lot of opportunities, and great time to serve and meet the community and be out there as well. But it was very interesting. We had people dressed up as pickles. We had
a pickleball team.
We had a pickleball team. We had a couple people dressed as
Flintstones.
Cows, the Flintstones.
Yes.
Live barn animals.
Wizard of Oz.
Yes, Top Gun.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So it's a great event, and really it's the creativity of the celebrities, what they want to do. One year we had a physician, and he was Bob the Builder. He actually put construction tape around his seats, and you had to pay to even get to your seat.
Okay.
And so it's a fun event. Another physician was a Mission Impossible, and so they decorated and wrapped mystery boxes, and then you paid for that.
Nice.
There's a lot going on, and it all goes on at once. And so it's a very loud event,
Yes.
but it's a very fun event. And they can sell sponsorships a month ahead, moving up, and it's just really caught on. And it's a lot of fun, Jim, a lot of fun. That's our Celebrity Waiter Gala.
Excellent.
And then we have our Ivy Hill Apple Baking Contest, and that's at Ivy Hill Farms. They are wonderful partners of hospice. One of their employees had to utilize Dewey's House, and we work with them. And they had a number of needs. And ever since, they have been a big supporter of hospice. They keep a jar out there. They send in a donation almost every 2 months.
Wow.
And really help us out. And they really believe in it because Dewey's House really helped their loved ones.
So how does that event work?
Well, let me tell you, this is a great event, and I'll tell you why, because I'm one of the judges. So this is one of my favorites. So from 10:30 to 12:30, the judges will come in, and you bring in any type of apple baking that you have. So it could be muffins, it could be just an apple crisp, it could be apple pizza, anything, but it has apples in it. And there's children's and there's adults. And I got to tell you, some of those children can bake, and I am so embarrassed because they are so good.
Really?
Yes, very good. So then you judge, but that isn't the big deal. So then there is an auction, and these items are auctioned off, and they go for quite a bit of money, even ones that have little pieces off for the judges. And Ivy Hill does this every year and really wants to help Hospice of Washington County. And they're thinking about doing a peach one this year.
So people can sign up to bring in baked goods, their Apple stuff.
Right.
Wow.
And then if you don't want to bake, but you want to buy something, you can come to the
Right.
auction after.
All right. I need to think about that one.
That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I fall.
I'm the baker guy.
I'm the eater.
Yeah. I go for the judging. But yes, definitely. And then Lights for Love, and that's at Dewey's House. And that is where you can sponsor a light that's on the little Christmas tree there in memory of your loved ones. And so you come, we have some music, and then we do a walk around Dewey's House, and then we say each loved one that has been sponsored. And it's very moving, very touching. But it does go to help the Benevolence Fund for our patients. And it's really an amazing program there. And usually we're able to park at the schools near Dewey's House, and then we bus everybody up, and then we walk around Dewey's House, have some little cookies and hot chocolate, but then we say the names of the loved ones, each one at a time, and so it's so moving.
Wow.
And those are really our main events of the year, but there's so many people out there that are doing their own events, sending in for hospice and really helping, and it's amazing what this community does.
No doubt about that.
And there's a commercials that's going to be rolling out here
There
too. I
is.
know Ernesto shared that with us last week, so just keep an eye out for that too.
Yes, we have new promotional videos. We actually worked with Josh from High Rock, and it's an amazing video, and we're trying to get that out. But really the reason for that is we want people to think about hospice and to call early and to make sure we're there for you.
You may see that in our commercial run, or you may have already seen that in our commercial run this evening.
There you go.
So,
Yeah, we're very pleased with that. You know, when you're hospice, when you're advertising for hospice, it's really the feeling and the emotion about it. And I think that when people see this, that they will have that feeling and emotion. And that's what it's about. It's about really touching people and changing their lives, or working to help them with end of life and really making that the best we can.
And that's an interesting point, because one of the things that I've thought about as an employee there, I mean, these employees, these nurses, these practitioners are dealing with people that they're only going to die. Of course, we're all only going to die, but them, how do they deal with that?
Well, I'm not a
Or
nurse.
is the process such that it is a net positive because of?
I think all of the employees at Hospice of Washington County believe in the mission, end of life care, and how can we help people. And I think really that's the joy of going in, making individuals comfortable, working with plans, making sure that their end of life is the best that they can, making a wish come true, helping somebody that may, like in our benevolence program, that wouldn't go to a certain point if we didn't help them. So I really believe our staff believe in the mission, and every time they go into a home, that's what they're looking for. How can we help them? How can we make this better?
And it's rare to find someone that gets into hospice just because they fall into it.
They
right?
want a job in nursing.
Right. Yeah, it's something that really drives you to. It has to. I just think it has to have that kind of compassion and really buy into that mission to do that kind of work every day. Know that return on that investment that you receive from that of helping families.
Absolutely, and I think too, it's interesting. We just recently had a new nurses breakfast, and so nurses that were in the year, and they're younger demographic too. And when they talk about it, they really talked about how they enjoyed the work, enjoyed being with the patients, how they wanted to learn more, be certified. So it was so amazing, and I think that's what really makes it. Our nurses, our CNAs, chaplains, bereavement counselors, social workers, they're really there for the mission. They believe in this, and they want to make sure that the next steps for the patient and their families are working. And so that's what makes hospice care so special.
Well, we support the mission as well, and we're glad to have you on. We're glad to be able to run your commercial. And I am committing tonight that the FlipSide will donate $500 to your radiothon on April 29th.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jim.
We'll
So
take care of that
generous.
piece. And I think that's about all the time we have tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
I forget what I'm supposed to say here. I'm used to Reggie doing this. That's all the time we have for tonight. We hope you will like us on Facebook. We hope you'll follow us on Twitter. We hope you will send your comments and suggestions to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That's feedback@theflipsidetv.com. Most important, join us again next week for another episode of The Flip Side. Good night.